So this is their bonus podcast, guys. We're in Berlin with Augustas Šuliauskas and Chima Moneke, enjoying this Final Four experience so far.
I'm glad you said Moneke, because the guy that said Monica, I finally met him yesterday, and he apologized. And you know what's funny about that? I was like so pissed about it at the start of the season, and I said, "Yo, who is this guy that said it?" And I got a name. It was you. You sent me the name. Remember that?
Yeah. I did.
And
I
messaged that guy, and it was the wrong guy.
Oh,
and
really?
that guy came up to me as well yesterday and said, "Hey, man, it wasn't me. It wasn't me."
Okay.
And then 2 minutes later, I saw the other guy, and it was the guy that he did the interview for me.
Oh no!
Before the game, tall, light-skinned black guy. I forgot his name, but like he was the guy that did it. Shout out to you because we talked about it, but it's not Monica, and he knows that now.
But man, 100%. If you played in this Final Four, the announcer of Uber Arena would have pronounced you like Monica or whatever, just like as she did with Hezoncha, Lul, Nun, and a lot of other guys. So
World Cup.
A lot of stuff had happened. For sure, we're gonna share some of it. Yeah. But let's start with positives. I mean, we just had this discussion with Augustas that Chima is living the life. You know, he's not there with the team, with Baskonia in the Final Four. That's sad. But not many other Euroleague players has an opportunity to be here, also to create content, to build some entertainment for the competition. And the thing that you do with the pregame show, with Tudis, with Dennis, with Lee, it's one of the biggest positives, one of the best things that happened for the Final Four for the EuroLeague in a lot of years, in my eyes. That was what we were lacking of. You had Scottie Pippen, we had Giannis in the gym doing interviews as well, Bill Murray, Dennis Schroeder, a lot of stuff. And, you know, in this situation, what was the biggest highlight for you so far?
For me, I would definitely say, the recognition that I was just getting from just being around all these great people. The love that I was getting from the fans, I think is probably the biggest though. Just taking a lot of pictures. I'm used to that now, but from fans of all different countries and fans of different teams, just recognizing me for what I've done, telling me that they support my YouTube channel, doing my laugh, haha, literally, they will just do it as they see me. And I think that's been the coolest. And then Scottie Pippen, me and him had a cool conversation off camera that was just dope. And yeah, it's been a great first day for me for sure.
You have like the fastest rising basketball channel. It just has to be.
Unreal. Honestly, unreal. Like I'm so serious. When we started this, I probably, if you asked me how many subscribers or how many views would I want after 6 months, I would say if I had 10,000 subscribers, I'd be very, very happy.
How many you have now?
I think like 34,000 in 4 months since we posted our first video January 15th.
January 15th.
That was the first video that we posted.
Wow.
It's been 34,000. Like at this pace, I'm gonna hit 100,000 maybe in December or January if I continue at this rate. And I have like 3 or 4 videos now that are over 100,000 views. And honestly, thank everyone for the support. And I have some cool ideas that are coming that I know will be very, very interesting.
I mean, if you played for fan bases like Panathinaikos, Olympiacos, Fenerbahce, I'm sure that you would hit that mark quite earlier. And I believe that you had a lot of questions from the fans, and especially Panathinaikos fans, because they were closer to the media seats and TV seats, I guess. I bet that there were a lot of questions or requests, come to Panathinaikos, come to Panathinaikos.
Yeah, I think that's definitely normal now. I think they say that, not just them, but they say that to a lot of players. You don't know who they really mean it with. But yesterday I felt that especially a lot from the Panathinaikos fans, and that was cool. I think they were just more excited that they won the game. So they saw me. I was one of the few EuroLeague players there. So they kept telling me that, obviously. But yeah, if I played for Pana or played for Partizan, it would probably be different. But I don't think like that just because I'm here in this moment. Maybe if I was over there, I wouldn't have started the YouTube channel. So I think it happened in the right way. And yeah, I'm definitely happy that I was in Baskonia when I did it.
Hey, make sure to subscribe Chima's channel.
Subscribe to
Chima
my
Moneke
YouTube channel.
on YouTube search, right?
Is this? Oh, right here. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just type my name, Chima Moneke, and you'll find it. Appreciate it.
Any
You see,
details?
he even knows the camera too.
Come on, man. I'm a professional
he's
now.
pro.
I belong in this life.
It's been 4 months.
I'm
and,
not surprised at all. So
yeah, like
just
I
doing his
told you
thing.
before the pod, he should change his name like to the natural. You know.
Shout out to Mike. I'm not gonna steal your name, but he knows. He knows.
Any interesting details from that off the record conversation with Scotty? Because the one we saw on camera was not very, let's say, content worthy.
I mean, so my only
Although I loved your story about Scotty.
yeah, so that was what
that was great. Yeah,
that was what my story was, and he said he didn't remember, and then he saw me courtside, and then he called me over, and he asked me like what am I doing if I'm trying to go back to the NBA, like he said I was doing really well with the journalism. But he said I looked young, so like he wondered why I wasn't still playing. I told him my season ended, and he said something inappropriately funny about why my season ended, I guess. So we shared a good laugh. He's a funny guy, very interesting guy, but very cool and like very respectful.
The only problem with Scotty is that, I mean, listening to him saying that I don't have a clue which teams are actually playing, I was just like, at what point you start not, taking care of anything, like not paying attention to anything, and even if you're going to some event that you don't know nothing about, you still do some research, right? And it's basketball business, it's not like hockey or whatever. So I was a bit surprised and disappointed by Scotty, to be honest with you.
Hey, me too. I don't know. I mean, I guess after you win those NBA titles and not 1, not 2, not 3, maybe you start caring a little less. But you can just not, let's say, not answer that question, I think.
I don't know. Honestly, some people were disappointed with his answer, but I would have been disappointed if he said he knew and then he got quizzed and it was like, okay, you literally didn't know. Why did you lie? So I respect the honesty in most cases. If it was me and I didn't know, I definitely would have done research. But, he didn't lie about it, so I respect that.
Chima, sorry, but despite you enjoying this Final Four experience, I still have to address the issue of the Final Four.
What's going on?
I'm not a fan of the Final Four, and this Final Four just proved my point.
Uh-oh.
We're losing everything that makes the Euroleague unique, and I don't accept this as the season finale of the season that we had this year, of the season that we had in previous years. I'm talking about a lot of different things. I'm just thinking that the Final Four takes away all the uniqueness of the Euroleague. First of all, drama, I think, is another factor. You cannot control that. And we actually had these 2 semifinal games tied for the second least competitive semifinal in the Final Four history. 2 games and then double the margins. But that's something you cannot control. Although with the playoff series, you can have 1 bad game, but you can bounce back. And we had 3 series ended in game 5. But, that's not in control of the EuroLeague. But, entertainment part, the engagement part. I mean, it feels like watching those guys do their thing inside the arena. It feels like that either they don't know basketball, either they don't love basketball, or they don't love EuroLeague at all. There's no engagement between the announcers, those guys who are doing some shows during the timeouts. And I can just throw simple advices. Like, you have these 3 amazing fan bases. Why don't you put the anthem of these clubs before the game to cheer them up instead of some random cool music that actually these people inside, they don't care about it? Put Olympiacos anthem, put Panathinaikos anthem, put Fenerbahce anthem, even Real Madrid, they have a cool anthem, and play it as soon as you finish the game and you win the game, just once again to inspire the fan. That's the first thing. Regarding the announcer, we already mentioned some things about her pronunciation, and I'm not even talking about some stupid situations like telling the scoreboard which team is up right now. Thomas Walkup shoots 2, maybe 3 free throws, decision by refs. I mean, she was basically doing the commentary. Bring those guys from these 4 teams that are participating in the Final Four, because that's what also makes the EuroLeague unique. In every gym, these guys behind the mics, they're doing amazing thing, hyping the crowd. Bring them up and let them shout after your team scores. Bring all these mascots. I mean, Panathinaikos, Fenerbahce, They had great mascots. This Yellow from Fenerbahce. On social media, she is even more popular than majority of the EuroLeague players. And I'm just talking about few things that would, dramatically would improve this whole experience that we have. Because maybe some neutral basketball fans or some fans who doesn't have this experience of traveling all around the world, they're not so much into the EuroLeague. Maybe they don't have any problem with that. But me as a basketball lover, when I go to the Final Four, I feel really disappointed because to me it's not the EuroLeague. It's something else. And to conclude the season this way, I just don't like it.
He just said so many things. I don't know where to start answering.
Yeah, me neither. Go ahead.
I mean, you said one thing about the Final Four before we go into the entertainment stuff. Like, I think Final Fours are only interesting if there is drama. And like yesterday, you sacrifice a 5-game series potentially with a lot of drama, a lot of tactical stuff, fans, going crazy in one gym and then the other. And then you basically go past the semifinal round with 2 games that's, were decided, in I don't know, Real Madrid game was decided, you could say, in the first half, basically. Okay, Olympiacos fought. It was a nice comeback and they tried it, but I don't know. It was just, I was disappointed that without the drama, it's not as interesting as Final Four can get. And then with the entertainment part, there was like these games during the timeouts where people do like dance cam, kiss cam, snapshot cam. The fans in the gym don't even care about that. Like there was this snapshot, I think thing, 3, 2, 1, and fans on the camera and they take a picture. There were 3 times in a row, basically the whole timeout, nobody even cared. Nobody even looked up to the cameras and they are taking just photos. This guy is talking above everything and nobody cares. And Olympiacos goes on a crazy run. Fans start singing. Hello guys, do you want t-shirts? Nobody's even listening to that. Why do you need to do that? Just
keep silent and enjoy the music,
exactly.
The symphony of the fans.
So a lot of things.
That's
really,
another thing. Yeah,
a lot of things really that disappointed me, to be honest, from that entertainment part, like pre-game show and all that stuff.
I think a lot of it is like NBA influence rubbing off in some ways, and I think that's what makes the EuroLeague. Everything you mentioned makes the EuroLeague special and unique. I think my only thing that I would complain about is after seeing the amazing series that we had, 3 Game 5s, we got to find a way to make it, whether it's the first series is best of 3, but we need more games. Any team can have a bad day. And I know this because I was in the Final Four last year and we had a bad quarter and that ended our season. And I talked to a few of the Fenerbahce players and they said we deserve to have a series. And I completely agree with them because I feel the same way. But at the same time, from the EuroLeague side, you get to have Giannis and Dennis Schroeder and all these EuroLeague greats, Scottie Pippen as well, in the same building at the same time. If we have the series, we would lose that. But
make the title game then, like the Champions League do, semifinal series and the title game in Berlin, in some great city, invite all these guests and enjoy this 1-game experience.
That might be. So what, can we do the Champions League, Euro Cup, and EuroLeague on the same day, or just Euro Cup?
No. I'm talking about football. You know what they do in the Champions League. They play semifinal series from home and away games, but they play 1 game for this title game. Like it's as an example of the Super Bowl as well. Play the playoff series until the finals and decide the champion in 1 game. If you want to invite everybody, to enjoy the show.
I think that's what it should be. I think that's what it should be, actually. But I would like to see, whether it's the EuroLeague women's play as well in this, I would like to have 2 games on that one day so people are here for a longer time, not just 1 game. Because if it's 1 game, you know, basketball games, especially in EuroLeague, we don't have as many timeouts as the NBA. NBA games are naturally longer. So, you can be at 1 game for 2.5 hours, 3 hours sometimes. Our games, there could be a game where it's only 1 TV timeout and it just flows, and then in 18 minutes, the first quarter is done. So I would love to see 2 games, whether it's Euro Cup and EuroLeague men's, or the EuroLeague women's play first and then the EuroLeague men's play after.
Or
Yeah,
the
that
U
makes sense.
final that you can
Something,
that you have.
something. But
Euro
I
Cup
love
final,
that idea.
Champions
Euro
League
Cup,
final,
yeah.
whatever.
A lot of
Yeah,
things to
but
choose from.
to lose a game on a bad night is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But congrats to Real Madrid and Panathinaikos. I picked both of them to be in the finals, so my predictions are going really well.
Okay, well, we'll go with the predictions at the end of the podcast. But what was your highlight from the semifinal games? Let's start from Fenerbahce and Panathinaikos. Probably the most anticipated game, right? And it was closer when the second one.
Ooh, my highlights, I think the way they started the game kind of put the game away. They did make it close, and it was like a part in the third quarter where it was getting closer and closer, and then Fenerbahce couldn't get over the hump. It was 51-50, and I think someone got fouled, and then Kalaitzakis made the three-pointer that basically killed their momentum. And I know I was talking to a few of the Monaco boys at the same time, and yeah, I know they thought they would have won that game if they played against Panathinaikos.
For sure.
You know, but
this is going to make a way in our socials.
yeah, I mean, everyone feels a certain type of way, but on any given day, every game is different. But the defense that Panathinaikos played yesterday was impressive to me.
Phenomenal. But like Kalaitzakis, you mentioned him, and the same story in Game 5, man. Just comes off the bench,
man.
The energy.
I like this guy.
In those 5 minutes, everybody else that he's defending is playing like 25, 30 minutes. And then he just comes off the bench for 5 minutes like a dog, attacking like full court pressure. And then, but it's not only that. Then he hits a free, changes the momentum. Because it was going Fener's way with the free-pointer in transition. I think Dorsey stepped on the line. Mm-hmm. Or was it someone else?
And you talking about in the corner? It was a two-pointer.
It was a 1-point game.
Yeah, could have tied the game, and it was And then no one scored. Missed shot, fouled, missed one free throw, or made 2 free throws, and then the shot to put them up 6. Yeah, they fought so hard, and it was just deflating. I know how it is because, as you know, I played for Baskonia. We started off really poorly in most of our games, and the energy you have to expend to come back into the game just does something different to you. And then when it feels like you're fighting and you're getting closer, and then it's like a bad break where the other team goes on a 5-0, 6-0 run, it can be just mentally demoralizing.
In the last 14 minutes, Fenerbahce made only 2 field goals. In the last 14 minutes, 7 turnovers, and they made 2 of 21. I think, in the last
21.
14 minutes. Exactly.
Last year's Monaco third quarter vibes.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, they just choked, really. At the end of the game, they just choked, as hard as it sounds.
But, they did not do that on their own because Pana's defense was like their hedge defense with Matthias Lesor out there, even kind of doubling sometimes the ball handler. Just phenomenal. And when they started the 12-0 run in the beginning, they basically did that. I don't know, there was like 3 turnovers from Fener. I don't know if they didn't expect that or the late game, the game delay was kind of affecting them. But it basically made that run, 12-0 run in the beginning. And then in the fourth quarter as well, they were switching before, and then they came back to this hedging defense, and it was just phenomenal. I was kind of tracking the possessions. 12 possessions, they scored only 4 points against that defense.
Yeah. My only thing, I think Cyrus should have called a timeout earlier. I think he should have weathered the storm. I think Kendrick Nunn hit the first 3. And after the next layup, I think it was someone got an easy dunk, maybe Mitoglu. Call a timeout then. The fans are going crazy. Just calm your team down. It's different. 5-0 is different than 12-0. And especially if Fenerbahce fans were loud, but the Pana fans were just louder. And after the delay to start the game, I feel like an earlier timeout would have helped. And I don't know what happened with Motley either.
Speaking of shoutouts, exactly, that's the question I had for you guys in this last 14-minute stretch. Not only Motley, but Tyler Dorsey didn't show up on the court in the last 9 minutes of the game. In the game where we have Scottie Wilbekin playing the worst Final Four game ever with -9 PAR, And, it was not his night. He was 1 of 10, I think, shooting from the field. And, I remember I watched your video on your channel, how do I feel when I have a bad game or something like that.
How do I deal with bad losses?
And I was just wondering, how do you feel if you're Tyler Dorsey and even Motley, who had a bad start? Yeah, but your team needs an offensive spark. And you have Motley, you're Motley, you're Dorsey, you're sitting on the bench, you're watching your team collapsing, needing this offensive spark, but you're on the bench. How does that feel? And, what's the advice for any head coach? Because Sharas told that he tried to stick with the guys he trusted that night. And let's say Scotty, after all this stuff beginning, he finds his rhythm in the end and changed the game. So yeah, Sharas, he trusted the guy, and that's good. That was help him to recover. But we see the conclusion. It didn't help, and we saw Tyler and Jonathan sitting on the bench.
The Tyler situation has been funny for me all season. Some games he wouldn't play in the first half. I know when Fenner played in Baskonia, I'm pretty sure he came in the second half, and then he caught fire, and he almost won them the game. So I know he's very capable, and I'm sure he's frustrated. And then the Motley thing, I know he was dealing with an injury majority of the series against Monaco. But I saw him in the hotel, and he told me that he was available to play and he was willing to play, and he was busting his ass to get back to be able to help the team. And to me, when he's healthy, like, he's almost unguardable in the post. And yeah, I'm disappointed for him, and I'm sure he's disappointed that he didn't play.
What else? By the way, Nikolatis, I think he's the defensive player of the postseason. The job that he did with Kendrick Nunn was great. Kendrick, I think he finished the game with 13 points or something like that. But at the end of the third quarter, he had 8. It was really difficult game for him. He was denied a lot of times. Nick was doing really good job. And, giving these circumstances, Nunn being below his usual numbers, Kostas Lukas had a 4-point game, I think, after this playoff performance. Given the circumstances for Fenerbahce, it was a pretty good situation, to take over and to finish the game and to win that semifinal. But this is the part which I liked. By the way, kudos to coach Igor Milicic, because he picked Nikolatis as his best defensive player of the year way back in January or February. So I owe him this shout out. He knows what I'm talking about. But what I liked about Panathinaikos was that despite having these two main guys offensively having not their usual night, being below their numbers, others stepped up. It started from Marius Grigonis, from Jerian Grant, then Kalaitzakis thing happened. So to me, watching that group going through the challenge that they had, I'm like, this team really deserves to win the EuroLeague. I mean, this is the championship material. They proved it once again. And if they win against Real Madrid in the final, I'm not surprised. I'm not saying that, it was not fair. And I really like how this team sticked together through one season after a lot of off-season changes and managed to build up to a title material, more or less.
Yeah.
No, that is really crazy to me, that you have 11 new players in the roster and you glue so well, so quickly. You have arrivals coming in like Kendrick Nunn after round 4. What was it, I think?
His first game was Berlin, round 6.
And it took a few rounds for him to get
for him
into
to play
his
like
rhythm.
himself. Absolutely.
He was like 16-17% from the field in a couple of first games, I think.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this team is a defensive beast. In the offense, they have so many options. You mentioned Jerian Grant. I thought he was huge yesterday. Like they forced him to those mid-range shots, and he was making all of them. So to win a game by 16 points when Kostas Lukas is 1 of 8 and Kendrick Nunn is having to shoot really tough shots because he's being face guarded, that's just, that shows that Panathinaikos is more than Nunn, Lukas, and Lazor, basically, to me.
Yeah, I picked them to win before the Final Four started. I'm definitely sticking with it. It'll be a tough game, and I know people saw the way Madrid played, and they will be like, how can you beat a team like that? But I feel like it'll be a different game tomorrow. But like you touched on Nick Kalaitzakis, I love everything about him, especially just because of how his season started and the noise even before the season.
Exactly.
Apparently they didn't want him. And for me, I've always been a big fan of him. I don't know how people can say that they don't want a guy like him on their team. He calms everybody down. He makes big shots. He's obviously Nigel Hayes and their team was great, but he was the one that sent them here. And
Yeah.
I love everything about him, and I'm happy for him and Nigel Hayes too.
Shout out to our friends NordVPN that are with us from the early beginnings. We have a great offer for you with our link, nordvpn.com/basketnews. You get 4 additional months with a 2-year plan.
That's crazy, actually. But NordVPN is basically the thing that helps me watch home content when I'm away, when I'm traveling. That's huge because, we have some free time to chill, to relax after work, doing all these podcasts, writing articles, and the ability to watch your favorite shows when you're away.
If ability to watch EuroLeague games, I wasn't aware that it was so hard to watch the EuroLeague TV in some places and in some destinations. For instance, in Greece, because they direct you to some local TVs that you don't have an access. And when you use NordVPN services, you put it as if you were in Lithuania, and that's it. You can even watch, LRT and all the other local broadcasters, including the EuroLeague TV.
That's what I had in mind, the national television, because some shows are not available when you're away. But I didn't know that, and probably the fans that are watching us didn't know that with NordVPN, you can actually book cheaper hotels and cheaper flights, car rentals, and just
cheaper subscriptions as well. And that's working.
That's a huge one. That's a huge one.
And it helps also, it's the best thing for travelers, for such travelers as me, as myself, because sometimes when you travel around Europe and the EuroLeague, there are some, let's say, destinations with suspicious Wi-Fi connections and whatever. Oh, yeah. So, using the VPN services from NordVPN, it kind of, it makes you feel more secure. It helps to protect your data in case something happens. So just one of many qualities that they offer.
Yeah. And our link, you get
4 additional months with a 2-year plan on nordvpn.com/basketnews.
Link in the description.
Olympiacos, Real Madrid.
Man, that first half.
Did they make a mistake in that first half?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
They did too. And actually in the first quarter, they were, I think, 11 from 16 from the field. Yeah. But they got 3 offensive rebounds and they had 2 turnovers, which means that only in 4 possessions, they didn't score. I mean, the way they started offensively, that was the NBA team playing that game.
Yep.
And even one of those turnovers was a backdoor bounce pass from Facu to Njai. That was a great decision. It was just a bounce pass, and he didn't catch it. If he threw the lob, it's a dunk.
And the other was Facu making the turnover in one of the first possessions. The kick-out pass was just too high. And after that,
first possession,
no mistakes, probably.
Nothing.
And in the, I'm not sure, probably second quarter, I look at the box score, and they're like 9 of 12 from 2, 9 of 12 from 3. And how are you going to answer this? And I mentioned in the preview before the Final Four we did, if Olympiacos want to win, they must have way more possessions than Real, because the offensive production from both teams are like night and day, and they just couldn't do it because they were not turning the ball over. Their defense was not forcing Real Madrid to make as much turnovers as they would have wanted. They had some offensive rebounds as well. And if you let Madrid to have the same amount of shots, you're not going to win. That's just not possible unless you have Marcus Howard, who makes 8 3-pointers out of 9.
Yeah, honestly, just unreal first half. That's what stuck out to me. I actually left the building at halftime, and I continued to watch. And they made a little comeback, but Madrid answered every single time in the second half. But just the way they play is just demoralizing. Hezonja hitting 3 threes in the first quarter. Yabusele coming in and playing. They just all played so comfortable. And it's just Chacho coming in and controlling the game. They just don't have any weaknesses. And even if they lose tomorrow, I think they were clearly the best team this season. But, in any one night, any team can win. So they were amazing last night.
Yeah, Los Bratis were doing their job. Not only Hezonja, but also Janan Musa stepped in. Man. They had a great game. And it's interesting because Hezonja is a free agent. this summer, and there's quite a high chance that he will end up in the NBA. He has a lot of attention from the NBA teams. And what is also interesting, that a lot of NBA decision makers are here in the Final Four in Berlin. So I believe that watching him starting this game this way, and I think it was huge for me. It looked like it worked as a early knockdown in the boxing match, because it was really demoralizing. The way they played offensively for Olympiacos, it was demoralizing. And watching Hazonia and hearing the intel that they got throughout this year, which was great from what I heard. A lot of people were impressed. The way he got more mature, the way he improved on and off the court. I think that, I won't be surprised if he will end up in the NBA this summer.
I think, I don't know why everyone was like quickly. I think this is probably why he said that he didn't want anything to do with the NBA when he came over.
Yeah.
And I remember I said that when I left because of my situation. But this guy, he's so good. He's so good. A lot of people have a lot of things to say off the court or whatever, but just basketball-wise, Hazonia is easily one of the best players in the Euroleague, in Europe. And
he's full package for the NBA.
He's the full package. His height, his size, his shot making, his confidence. And every time people were talking about him going back to Pana, obviously it makes sense, but the NBA is always right there. And literally on a weekend like this weekend, it's a perfect time to remind people who you are. And I think he did that all season. I'm glad you said it, because people need to watch out.
He deserved to be as well in the second team, I think.
He was the only person, to me, that definitely deserves to be on that second team.
The only person.
1,000%. Wade Baldwin should have been first team.
First team.
Yeah.
That's the question I had to address.
Go ahead, man.
Oh, really? About the second teams?
To fix all EuroLeague team selections.
But it's easy.
Just I want to hear players' perspective.
It's very easy. Separate it. Announce it. Even if you announce it later, shut down the vote-in before the first play-in game.
Okay.
Because clearly people were influenced by what they saw in the playoff series. And that's cool, but it's unfair for the people that aren't playing. And it's unfair for the people that get injured at the end of the season. And they played 32, 33 games. And then it's like, okay, well, your regular season doesn't matter. These 5 games in this playoff series, that's what's more important, because it helped get their team to the Final Four. That's great, but that's a different award. So I'm sure you guys know how I feel about it. And a lot of people yesterday told me that they had me on their first team and they had me on their second team. And I appreciate that, but can't do nothing about it now, right?
But is it the only change? Because I think that also there's the problem with the voting process, because 20%, 25% goes for the fans voting, team captains, media, head coaches, I think. Is that a right formula? Because if you're playing not in the biggest fan base teams, you're losing 1/4 of the votes probably. And maybe that was a, deal breaker for you, for instance, to make the all EuroLeague team.
Yeah, I think 25% for the fans is probably too much. But, they just need to, I think the bigger problem is when they vote it. And I remember seeing the live results. And I think 4 of the top 8 players were from Panathinaikos, or 3 of the top 8 at least. And all 3 of those guys made the team. But, they had a great season, and I'm very frustrated. I can't lie. I'm definitely very frustrated about it. I'm frustrated for Marcus Howard. I'm frustrated for Shane Larkin. Keenan Evans had a great opportunity. I get, they didn't finish as close to the play-in as other people would have liked. Shangalia as well. But I'm definitely frustrated more for me, Shane, and Marcus especially.
There were just too many frustrations. I mean, it's natural that every time somebody will be left out and he will be unhappy. But just this year, I think it was extraordinary in number of frustrations that everybody had around this voting. But anyways, that's another topic. The guy who also didn't make the all EuroLeague teams was on your show in one of your interviews when you were, touring the Žalgiris facilities. You had this conversation with Keenan. And, remembering this interview and watching Olympiacos struggling in some situations offensively last night, do you think that he is the guy that will, unleash the full Olympiacos potential and will, get through this ceiling that this team had last year maybe, but especially this season?
Keenan Evans will be all EuroLeague next season because he's on Olympiacos. I will say that 1,000%. For sure. I'm a fan of a lot of these guys, honestly. But Keenan is like, he's special. Like he's just different. And yeah, I think he will get his just due, his real credit that he deserves playing for a team like that. And I think he will unlock them in a way that they needed to be unlocked this season. They had a great season to make to the Final Four, and a lot of people didn't expect them to get there, but they were missing something, and I honestly think Keenan is what they're missing. Everything else is really good, but they're missing Keenan.
Yesterday they had 5 possessions in the first quarter where Real Madrid's defense just forced you to play late ISO.
Yeah.
5 possessions like this, they scored 0 points on that.
Yeah.
Imagine you have 190, what's his size? 193 guard, the ability to pull up from free, to drive in, to decide those possessions, so at least some of them, because it was like Kanan trying to shoot over Tavares or Thomas Walkup trying to hit a shot. Keenan is just different, and you mentioned that he plays on both sides of the court, so I think he's going to fit just perfectly.
If he goes, right? Is it done? I'm not sure if it's done. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, our final predictions. So you picked Panathinaikos, right?
I picked Panathinaikos versus Real, and I picked Lesort to be MVP, and I think it'll be a very close game. I think it'll be a very close game. I think Kendrick Nunn will be big. I think the guys that struggled yesterday will be big, and Lesort will do his usual damage because he likes playing against Real Madrid. That's my prediction.
Lesort had 26 in the regular season.
Yep.
Last matchup, I think, where
He was killing Poirier.
He
I don't know
dunked
what
on
happened
Poirier
between
like
them.
3 or 4 times. Like they're supposed to be
Yeah.
national team brothers. Like what's going on? I don't know.
Yeah.
but that was that regular season matchup from between those two teams were kind of like the period where Madrid were a bit slacking. Struggling. And it was not the real Real Madrid that we see now. Like I think in the playoffs, they're there. But I'm not saying it's going to be an easy
we
game.
see real teams, on one game. We didn't see real Fenerbahce last night, right? So, it's the Final Four.
No. Yeah,
It's not the
sure.
serious.
Anything
Who
can
knows? Maybe tomorrow
Yeah.
we're not going to see real Real Madrid and Panathinaikos. I think that they have a lot of tools to surprise people because I consider them as underdogs. But I also picked them to win the title. But for all the reasons you mentioned, I just don't see Nan and Slukas not playing up to their capabilities for the second straight game of that importance. Others have to step up. I have no problems with Matthias Lesort. And somebody from Madrid side, somebody will fail, and that will, build the path to this scenario when I see Panathinaikos winning.
Yeah, you too?
Yeah.
Okay. Team Real Madrid.
Okay.
Wow.
Green, white, green, the Nigerian flag.
You're doing shout out to everyone.
Listen, man, I'm here.
Podcast of shout outs.
So I'm sticking to my prediction before the Final Four. Real Madrid, I had Hezonja as my MVP. Although him missing 8 3-pointers after he made the first 3 did not help his case, but I don't know. I just think Real Madrid has been the best team for the whole season, and I think they deserve to win. They have so many great players. Kozer yesterday as well, playing phenomenal defense. I don't know if we have ever mentioned him on this podcast, but
We usually mention him during the Final Four.
Every
That
time.
would
Yeah.
happen in 2018, 2022. I think he's the Final Four.
Last year
material.
it happened too.
last year.
Last year it
same
happened because
exactly.
I remember apparently he was supposed to be leaving. He wasn't playing as much, and then he hit big shots in the Final Four, and then he was very emotional. I remember that moment. He's incredible too, man.
But I think it's going to be a little bit closer game than yesterday.
So they're gonna break the curse, the regular season first place curse.
I think so. Just picking the best team for the entire season for tomorrow.
And I really have high hopes that this game will, will help this Final Four to survive. Will save this Final Four from the drama standpoint, from the quality from both sides, let's say, standpoint. And if we will have this Madrid's game in Berlin tomorrow, because this game in Madrid was, very high scoring game. Panathinaikos, I think they played their best offensive game that night. It was huge. And with the fans that we have, I mean, I was surprised that Panathinaikos fans took over. I remember these numbers on social media, like, Olympiacos is going to have 4,500. There will be like 3,000 Fenerbahce fans plus locals. And Pana, it was like from 2 to 3. But to me, it felt like that they took over. They were owning this Final Four, and they will be owning this Final Four tomorrow, because I easily see them buying tickets from Fener or even Olympiacos fans.
For sure. It was loud in there. It was loud in there from the start, from their side especially. That was the side that I was standing in, and then it just felt, it felt special. Goosebumps.
Okay. Chima Moneke, Augustas Šuliauskas, Donatas Urbonas. Thanks for watching. If you want some real organic basketball experience in the Final Four, come to BasketNews Terrace in Redo XXL restaurant. We have some nice zone outside the restaurant. We have some challenges over there. It's not the most, let's say, fanciest place, but we have great announcer out there. Rytis, just different one when Panathinaikos fans have in mind. He's doing some crazy things. We're letting fans to chant their songs with the microphone. So it's a whole different party over there. That's the most organic basketball thing for basketball lovers around Uber Arena, in my eyes.
Do you know that Rytis told me this morning that around 10 people yesterday thought he is the Rytis from the podcast? And they would.
Long story short,
the
Rytis of our podcast is always going against Panathinaikos. All the predictions, everything. He's the meme. He's the meme.
Like 10 people mixed him, and we're talking to this Rytis that is hosting the fan zone for like 3-5 minutes, and he's like saying, "I'm not the same guy." He even showed the picture of Rytis. He had to do it to make fans understand. Whatever.
Every second interaction with Panathinaikos fans is like, where is Rytis? Where is Rytis? But I have to tell you, so far, it's one of rare positives of this Final Four experience to me. I mean, the fans, they're approaching us, sharing their feedback. Mostly it's positive, but, just sharing this good energy. It was fun. It's one of those good things when you have big fan bases in the Final Four in one place, and just to hear this feedback it really means a lot to us as a content creators, because then we know that somebody needs that, they're aware of it, and they respect what we do, because the thing that we do is not easy, and Chima knows it.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to the fans. They've been great to me. I'm glad they've been great for you guys as well, and they deserve all the credit because they make this fun. Okay. And I'll be at the fan zone, so pull up.